Hello YouTube and welcome to this new video. Today I will show you my everyday coffee recipe using the Aeropress. The recipe is two slightly different coffees, and the first one a bit like cappuccino, or it should be a cappuccino, and the second one is Mocha-like, so chocolatey. And in the end I will show you some rules you should follow for good coffee with an Aeropress. Let's get started. I will start with doing my everyday coffee, the Cappuccino-like. First thing you need is coffee. I prefer 18 grams, but you can also take 19 or a bit less. Then you need to grind the coffee. For that I use this old grinder, which I really like. You need to pour in the coffee, and for the coffee I prefer dark espresso roasts. And then you need to grind it. I'll do that pretty quick. Then you need to shake that the coffee powder goes in the middle of the thing and don't stick at the edges. Then you want to put together your Aeropress, and therefore you take the basket thing, put on one filter paper and screw on the other thing. Then you put on your funnel and pour the coffee powder in. And this is time to boil your water. I'll do this in this kettle here, and meanwhile you can stir and foam your milk, which should be preheated, maybe in a microwave when you can't steam it. So I will do that pretty quick. Now we have here 140 grams of nicely foamed milk. You want to put that on the scale. Put the other thing, the Aeropress with the ground coffee in it. Turn it on. And the water should now be about 95 degrees Celsius. And then you can pour in your water. And that should be about 65 grams. Well, that was a bit too much, but perfectly about 65 grams. And then you can put it off the scale, and then you should put the plunger in, so there is a vacuum type of thing, so that the coffee possibly don't go out of the Aeropress. And then you swirl the Aeropress. This should take about 30 seconds, and then you can push it. 30 seconds should be the time for swirling and waiting a bit. So I think now I will push. Push gently, not with too much force. You should lay your hands on it if you have heavy hands. That's beautiful. Should plunge it all the way down, or if you want you can leave it like that, but I personally want to push it all the way down. You can just leave it on top there, but to get the last 5 to 10% of the liquid out, you should push it just to the bottom, but not too hard at the bottom. Then you can let it drip for a few seconds, and if you think it's done, you can pull it out for a few millimeters and then let it stand there. And now we have coffee, which looks pretty nice, but the milk foam on top of it is partly coffee colored. So maybe you don't want this for your perfect coffee, but it's the easier way. I have a spoon down here, and then I can stir it. And yeah, I think that's pretty nice. It looks good. And for the milk, you kind of want to look for yourself how strong the coffee to the milk should be. I prefer like 2 to 3 to 1 ratio, so 2 or 3 times as much milk as coffee. And then you can taste it. Pretty good. Now let's continue with the Mocha-like coffee. Just as last time, you have to grind yourself some coffee and then brew it over a nice cup, in my case this. And then you need to boil some water. Do that. And then, just as last time, you're gonna make yourself some nice coffee. Again, pour in 65 grams of water. I'll wait a bit till it's a bit colder. And then pour it in. I think that's enough, and now we'll wait a bit. In the meantime, I'll show you what we else put in the coffee, if not regular milk. Instead, I take this havermilk or oat milk, oat cacao, and I really like that. I found out about that pretty recently, but the sad thing about it is you can't really foam that. I tried that, but as you can see, so let it drip and then let it stay there. And even now we have ourselves some pretty good coffee, I'd say. I'll try it. Pretty good, but pretty hot. And then you can see here the cacao, which has pretty big bubbles, which will break in soon. But now we can fill up the mug until it's full, because that's almost 200 milliliters. And now have a look at this. That's like a mocha, so coffee, milk and chocolate, but it's totally vegan and it tastes super good. You need to like this cacao thing, but I think it tastes really good. Yeah, you should definitely try that. In the end, and for the conclusion, let's define ourselves some rules for good coffee with an Aeropress. If you put in 18 grams of solid coffee, so in powder form, you should add 65 grams of water at a temperature of about 95 degrees. You will get out between 55 and 60 grams of liquid coffee, so coffee you should you can drink already. And to that you could add 140 grams of hot milk at a temperature of about 60 degrees, and you shouldn't go over 65 degrees. The coffee to hot water ratio is 1 to 3.5 in, so if you put 1 coffee in, you put 3.5 water in, and for the outcome the ratio is 1 solid coffee to 3 water. So that means if you put in 1 coffee, you should get out of the Aeropress 3 coffee you can drink. And the coffee to milk ratio is 1 to 2 and 3. So something between 2 and 3. The information about the coffee, it should be dark and fine grinded, otherwise it can behave different. For super detailed informations, you can watch James Hoffman's video. That's super detailed and really long. So if you want, you can watch that. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.